Hey, what's up guys? Mike here with Step-by-Step Programming, and today we're going to learn how to use CoreData and implement it in our app. So step one is to create an app including CoreData, or to add it to yours, and I'll show you how to do both. Add an entity and the attributes in the data model, which it's sort of like a class and properties for that class. So we'll get to that next, and then you'll create an AppDelegate singleton and an instance of the context in the main view controller. We'll also create an array in the main view controller to display the data that we're adding. And 5 through 8 are your CRUD operators, your create, read, update, and delete. A lot of that is with a do-catch block. So, you know, maybe if you don't know a lot about do-catch blocks, I'll try and explain it to you. It's pretty simple, but if you want to look that up before you start, that would be great. Also, singletons, you don't really have to know much about singletons for this lesson. You can just follow along and know that what I'm creating is a singleton. Apple basically creates the singleton for you. Now, let's get started with step one. So with step one, we just create an app that includes CoreData, and that's pretty easy to do. Just go into here, click Single View App, and we're going to call it CoreData Swift. And make sure you check CoreData. That's the whole point here. And next, and we'll just put it on our desktop so that we can get to it easier in the command line if we need to. That's just a best practice that I do. So now you'll see over here we have this data model. And then if you really go through it and look in the AppDelegate, you'll see that there's a bunch of new things in the data model. The application will terminate, saving the context. What is all this stuff, you ask? And it goes with CoreData. And so the simple solution is just follow along, and I'll show you. But it works. That's the the way it's set up to work. Do a lot of work behind the scenes in this free code that Apple gave you. So if you're like, Mike, yeah, I've already made an app and I didn't know I wanted CoreData before, and now I want to add it. How do I do that? Let me show you. We're going to create a new project. Single view app. We're not going to include CoreData, and we're going to call it I forgot CoreData. And put that on the desktop. And so now we have it. And if you want to, the easiest way is to just copy everything over. So we'll take everything from here. Let's start at the bottom. I never want to screw up these brackets, so I'll just paste it over the brackets that we already have. And we'll take the entire AppDelegate here, and we're going to copy, Command-C, and then we're going to go into our AppDelegate here. And we're going to paste, Command-V. And now just for this one, we're not going to need any of these. So we're going to delete those. But also now we're pretty much ready, except we need our data model. So we're going to create a new data model in this. I'll show you how to do that. It's just as easy as creating a new file. New file, and then go down to CoreData, click Data Model. And we'll call it Model, target CoreData. Or target I forgot CoreData. And then, so in here we've copied and pasted. And so if you do copy and paste, just make sure it says let container in the lazy variable persistent container. And then it says name, and that name has to refer to whatever you call your data model over here. So it's called model. You don't have to put the end after the period or anything. So you just go in here and change this to model. And there, now it's set up. Now you've got everything you need. So now we're going to go back to the app that we created that already had CoreData checked, and we're going to go to step 2, which is to create an entity and attributes in your class, or not class, your data model. It's so similar to a class that I want to call it a class all the time. But you just go into the CoreData Swift, this little thing here, and we click Add Entity, and see now we have a nice little entity up there, and you can change it to list. Since we're going to create a list out of a table view in the app, I'm just going to call it list, or how about list item? Let's just make sure we know what we're talking about here. And then for attributes, those are properties, so we're going to just give it a name, and it must begin with the lowercase letter, and we're just going to call it a string. And there we go with step 2. Now with step 3, it's gonna sound and look more complicated, but our next step is to create a let property for the context, and in that we're going to have a AppDelegate singleton. So we're going to go into View Controller and going to let context, and the context is in the delegate. You'll see it goes down here, and you've got all this context. Context is kind of like purgatory for your data. So you can't access the CoreData database directly. You have to have a context in between the two. And so yeah, like it really is basically purgatory, and we need to target that somehow. So let's see. I'm going to let context equals and before we do that, I want to go up here and import CoreData, which you're going to want to do on every part of the app, or every view controller that you use CoreData in, and we're going to build it. Maybe that'll make this stuff pop up, because it's a lot easier when it does the autofill for you. So we're going to go UI application. There we go. .shared .delegate as AppDelegate, and so this is basically how we create a singleton of the AppDelegate here. And then we're going to refer to it in the persistent container .view context, and that is the context of this. Persistent container, if you're curious as to what all this stuff means, check the Apple documentation. Is really informative and can explain it in a lot quicker time than I can. So we're going to take that and we're going to refer to it later. It's nice to have it now. And our next step is to create an array of the items that we're going to use. So let's do let list item array equal, and then it's going to be an instance of whatever we made over here. So in the data model, it's called list item, and an entity is the same thing as a class. It really is very similar for coding purposes. And we're going to go to list item. There we go. Oh, parentheses on the outside. And so now we've created an array of the list items. We get to the C create data, we need somewhere to display it. So in the main storyboard, I'm going to add a table view. I'm just going to have it grab all the sides. Then we're going to go in here and we're going to say data source is there, delegate is there. It's the same as going in the view did load and setting the delegate and data source to self. That's just a interface builder way to do it, you know. Then we're going to add a cell. And then we're going to go into the view controller. We're going to go to AppDelegate. And then it should pop up. Does not conform. Do I want to add protocol stubs? Yes, I do. We're going to take those. And take those, and we're going to drag them down here. And in number of rows in section, we're going to go to list item array dot count. Oh, actually, it needs a return. So that's going to be our number of rows in the section. And then for the cell for row at index path, we're going to say let cell equal table view dot DQ reusable cell with identifier. We don't have one yet, and we're going to go index path. So for the identifier is set again in the back in the interface builder. We go into this cell we just added. We call it identifier item cell. Okay. And then we go back into the view controller and we say item cell. In order to make these error messages go away, we're going to return the cell because that's what it's expecting. UI table view cell as its output. And now we're ready to get started with creating or saving data in CoreData. So I'm going to create a function called save data. Because I don't mean to spoil the surprise, but we're going to have to use this function save data to update and delete the data as well. So we're going to say it's context.save. But see how it throws right here? It says it throws, which means we're going to need to put it in a do catch block. And then if it doesn't, we're going to print error saving context, and then get the error displayed right there. And we also have to try it. Alright, so that is how we save the data. But where do we put it in? Also, we have to make sure that we go into our table view and we reload the data. So alright, we have to create an instance of the table view first. Yeah, we'll create that up here. Go here, control drag, and call it table view. There we go. And now all this, the error message will clear out now. Go back here, and off, and there we go. So now we need an add button in order to add to our table view. We go in here and we're going to take off the align top. I'll just clear all the constraints. So basically, I just checked clear constraints right there. And we're going to go move it down like this, and then we're going to add a navigation bar to the top. And this one is going to have 0, 0, 0. And then height, yeah, let's just keep it at 44, whatever the normal is. And then with this one, we're going to have to go in, set these all back to 0, and then we'll set that top one at 0 so that it'll touch the our navigation bar here. And then we're just going to call it list, and we need a bar button item. And we're going to put it up here. and it's going to be the add button. So now we have this ready to link up, and we go into our viewController.swift. Right under where the table view is, we're going to control drag into here. Or actually, let's call it an IB action, and we'll drag it down here. Add button pressed. So now we have that, and we can get rid of this double pane window here. And so when that button is pressed, this is what we're going to do. And at the end, we know we're going to save the data. But what do we do up here? So we're going to create a pop-up that lets you add the name of whatever you're looking to add. To do this, we're going to use UI alerts. So we're going to create an alert, UI alert controller. And for the title, it's going to be create new list item. And for the message, it's going to be nothing. Our preferred style is an alert. And then we're going to go into net action, UI alert action. So basically this is what happens when we try to add something. And for the title, it's going to be called add item style.default. And our handler, we're going to use, I hit enter there to create a closure here. And then so in this closure, that's what's going to happen when we want to perform the action. So we're going to actually this should be a variable, not a let constant. I just caught that just skimming my work. And then here we're going to create a new let new item equal, and it's going to be of the list item, and our context is self.context, as in the one that we've already created. So now you see we have a attribute name, and we want to refer to that in here and obviously change it to whatever we've added it to. So new item dot name equals text field dot text. And in order to refer to this, of course, we need a variable text field that equals a UI text field. What we're going to do still in the action, we're going to go to self and list item array, and then we're going to append our new item. And then we're going to save the context, which actually we should put that in here. And it's going to want us to put self in front of it. And we're going to go in alert.add action, and it's going to be this action that we're referring to up here. And alert.add text field. And the configuration handler is going to be another closure in which we just say alert text field, and then our code is alert text field dot placeholder equals new item here. Then we're going to say that our text field up there equals alert text field. So when it passes through here, it's going to get updated. And now the only thing left to do is to present our alert animated true, completion nil. So let's see if that worked. Bring in my simulator over here. And the list is empty. Why? Because we haven't added anything. And when we do add something, it'll pop up. And it's going to be called item. And it doesn't add. And why is it not working? Well, it's actually in our in the SQLite database created by your persistent container in CoreData. But you just can't see it because we haven't used the next step, read data. And for that, we're going to use inedge fetch request, and let's get going with that. And in order to do that, we're going to create another one down here by save data. We're going to call it load data. And in that, we're going to create an instance for our request. And the request, you have to specify what type this one is. A lot of variables in Swift you don't have to specify, but for this one you do. So it's going to likely declare it twice, but so we need to go in here and list item. And that equals our list item dot fetch request. See, so we were clear about what this was. And here we're going to create another do catch block because the fetch request throws an error. So we're going to do catch, and in the do it's going to be the we call it up here the list item array. It's going to be equals try context dot fetch. See, it says it throws, and we'll just refer to the request that we created up here. And then in there we're going to print error loading data and print the error message. And then we're going to reload the data in the table view again. So now when we run the view.did.load, we want that to be displayed. So we're going to load data. Now let's see if it works. And we add test item. Here is in the self-heroic index path. We never really got involved. This is where it displays the data, and we don't have anything here. So we're going to go in, and we're going to create a item which equals list item array for the index path dot row. And so that's selecting each individual list item. And then I'm going to go to cell dot text equals item dot title. Or dot name, that's what we used in that last one. And then that should do it. Now let's see. Yes, there we go. Okay, there we go. Now to make sure, let's close it out. See, it closed it out there. Reopen it, and it works. So the data was persisted. So now we've made it halfway through the CRUD operators, and now let's update our data. To update data in a table view, you'll know that we have to use the did select row at index path method if you're familiar with table views. If not, actually check out my other video, how to make a table view in 5 steps. A lot more detailed than the one that I just did. This one pretty quickly, so I explain it a little bit better in that one. So we're going to go to override table view did select row, that it fills it out. And now we're going to add an alert to let you okay. Well, I guess when you're using a table view controller, you have to override it. So here we're going to take in the alert that we used here, just to avoid typing it all over. Go in and do that. And it's going to be, instead it's going to be change list item name. And then this one's going to be update item. Doing here is to change the list item array index path.row dot set value, and it's going to be it's going to actually the text field that we've created up there. So it's going to be text field.text for key name, which is the key that's in the data model here. And of course, when we refer to this, we're going to have to do self. Now let's run this and see if that works. Click our added item and change it to blah, 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 blah. And let's close out of the app and see if it registered the change in CoreData as well. And it did. So now we've finished the update data part, and now let's move on to the last step, which is deleting the data. And so in order to do that, we're going to comment all this out and just use did select row at. So command / will comment large swaths of code out. And deleting is pretty simple as well. We just go into context.delete, and then for the object we go into the array, list item array index path.row, and then we go into item list item array dot remove at index path.row. So basically we had to remove it from our CoreData up here and from the list item array down here, so it doesn't show up anymore. You have to run this one first. These can't be switched in order because you're going to get a weird glitch where like it deletes like 2 or 3 of the items at the same time. So that's not good. You want to always use context.delete before list item array.remove. And again, and I have to go to call save data. So save data we called for 3 of the 4 functions. Everything except read, you basically have to use it. So that's why I threw that spoiler alert earlier and put this down here. So now let's run this app again. And let's delete these items. Now let's close out of the app totally, terminate the app in Apple's language, open it back up, and they're still gone. So yeah, great. We learned how to use all the CRUD operators, and we did it in under 30 minutes. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos if you're interested on my step-by-step YouTube programming channel, and I'll put the link for the table view right below here. So yeah, thanks guys. Take it easy.